Alright guys, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be giving you my warrior leveling guide for classic Wrath of the Lich King. And this video will be relevant for people who are playing on fresh servers and also people jumping straight into Northrend for Wrath launch. We're going to be covering the 5 most important topics. First of all, tips and tricks, best talents and glyphs, playstyle, weapon progression, and lastly, stat priority and what gear to prioritize while leveling. First thing I'm going to recommend is my really weird revenge macro. What this does is it turns off your auto attack. Now you may be wondering why on earth would you want to do that, and it's because your auto attacks will consume sweeping strike stacks. This macro allows us to use 2 sweeping strikes stacks with our revenge. Because without this macro, what I'm finding that happens is that you can only use 1 sweeping strikes with your revenge, because you're consuming it with your auto attacks. Now when you're leveling solo, you always want to be trying to cleave as many enemies as you can. You can start cleaving honestly about level 6, but I would only cleave about 2 mobs at once. This is because thunderclap damage is much better now in Wrath, but really cleaving really becomes a thing at level 21, where you can get the improved revenge talent and you unlock the cleave ability. Another thing I'd recommend is to always keep your first aid leveled up when you're leveling a warrior. You don't really have much when it comes to self-healing and sustainability, and bandages are faster at topping your health than food, so I definitely think bandages are still relevant in Wrath of the Lich King. What you can do is make loads and then just send them to yourself in a mailbox so you don't have to run to the bank and deposit them there. That way they won't take up your inventory space. If you're leveling on a fresh server, you may as well pick up the mount speed increasing items like Mithril Spurs and Carrot on a Stick. Just be aware they don't work over level 70. When it comes to the Zerkastance quest, I'd honestly only recommend doing this later, because if you're doing it at launch, you're going to be competing against so many other people doing it, and you spend most of the time, if not all the time, in defensive stance while leveling. I'd also recommend you getting some weak auras for Revenge and Battle Shout. So obviously you want to know when Battle Shout has fallen off so that you can reapply it for the damage boost. Then we want one for Revenge just so we know when it's available, so that we can obviously use it as it's your biggest damaging ability. Remember that when you have decent enough gear on your protection warrior, say for instance you are just jumping into Northrend content right now on a very well geared level 70 warrior, you can very easily just go in 2-man dungeons for insane experience. All you need is a healer friend and Bob's your uncle. Remember that since Shockwave stuns the enemies and prevents them from attacking you, it's going to stop Revenge from proccing. Personally I only use Shockwave as more of a finisher, because when I've got multiple enemies on me, Revenge is going to proc so much that it procs pretty much constantly. So yeah, Shockwave is best left as a finishing ability. Remember that jumping increases your AoE leeway, so that will work on Thunderclap, Whirlwind and Cleave. If you're looking for the best leveling guide out there, I definitely recommend you to get Rest XP. It's made by the world record holding speed levelers of the game. And if you're looking for a guide for the best 25 quests to get before Wrath of the Lich King actually launches, that is applicable to absolutely everyone, no matter what quest you've done while leveling in TBC. If you subscribe to my channel and check my sub-only trailer, in the description of that video there will be a quest list. So when it comes to talents guys, I'm going to show you what I prefer to go for. You may not prefer to go for particular talents in a particular order that I'm doing, but let's be honest, as long as you pick up the absolutely essential game breaking talents, it's not really going to make that much of a difference whether I go for something that you don't. As far as I can see, there are 2 really good builds that you can go for. Either go deep into protection or you go for arms prot, but you can only really do arms prot at around about level 60. Now let's say for instance you're low level, you're on a fresh server, leveling a warrior. First thing you want to go for is improve Thunderclap. Damage on Thunderclap is now much better. I then want to put points into shield specialization. From here you want to pick up Insight, because we want that increased crit chance on Thunderclap. We are going to be cleaving low level, even 2 to 3 enemies at once, so I want to be boosting the damage of Thunderclap as much as possible. And my recommendation is to finish off points in shield spec, because this really does complement increasing the chance of Revenge to proc when you later unlock that ability, and you just generate so much rage when you have this talent maxed out. Second you can get Improved Revenge, you definitely take Improved Revenge. It buffs the damage and causes it to attack another nearby enemy. This is vital to speeding up your leveling speed. Why take on one enemy when you can be taking on two at once? Now you're going to finish off shield spec, put a couple of points into shield mastery, want that reduced cooldown on shield block so we can use that more frequently. Obviously when you have shield block, it basically guarantees that revenge is available constantly when you have shield block up. Then personally I like to get Last Stand, a great cooldown that will help you out from time to time. Then from here I like to pick up Improved Blood Rage, I like Rage Regeneration on Blood Rage. I start putting points into Puncture, not really using Thunder Armor at very slow level, but will be later using Devastate, so it's more of a preemptive talent. Then get Concussion Blow, great little short cooldown stun, very useful. And I definitely like the reduced cooldown on stuff like Shield Wall, Recklessness or Retaliation, because I like to use them as often as I possibly can. As a side note, you can definitely sacrifice to Puncture talents, since you're only really going to be using Thunder Armor and Devastate on a single target, and like I said before, we're going to be trying to cleave as many targets at once. You can replace these talents if you want by putting points in Anticipation, because that does increase the chance of us getting revenge procs. Then we definitely want to max out one-handed weapon spec, because it does increase your damage by a decent amount. Then we definitely want to improve defensive stance. We're going to be using defensive stance constantly while leveling, and obviously that enrage effect is very nice. Now if you're going to do dungeons, definitely pick up Vigilance as a very powerful cooldown. If not, just go straight into Focus Rage. And we're going to keep going down the tree. We need Vitality, that's just a very simple stat buff on your strength and your stamina. Now from here you've got a couple of points to spend to get you down the tree. You can go Safeguard, you can go Improve Spell Reflect, you can put points into Puncture, really is up to you. Personally I quite like the Improved Spell Reflect, so that would be my preference. Then from here you're going to get Devastate and Critical Block and Warbringer. In fact you just want to get all these talents, just get them in the order that you prefer to get them first. I think my preferred would be to get Warbringer straight away so I can start charging without having to go into battle stance before I charge, because that's a little bit irritating. I think Devastate, a bit of Critical Block. Sword and Board is great because whenever we use Revenge or Devastate, we have a chance to make our Shield Slam totally free of charge, so it doesn't even cost any rage. You want to be setting up a weak aura to remind you of when that is happening, but we definitely want Damage Shield and we definitely want Shockwave. Now at this point, if you want to continue leveling in Prot and staying in Deep Prot, then you can. There is another option which I'll talk about later. My recommendation is to get Armor to the Teeth for the very simple increase in attack power, and I like to max out Cruelty as well for the increased crit. It's very nice on revenge procs. And then from here you can get points in Arms if you want. My preferred go-to is to actually go down and get Improved Cleave for when I'm leveling in Northrend. So I'll get the increased duration on my Battle Shout with Booming Voice and max out Improved Cleave. Then we're level 73. And then from here, I mean, it really is up to you what you want to get. But I'll probably just finish off points in Commanding Presence just to increase the power of my Battle Shout. Now, this is for spec you can get at level 58. I definitely recommend you trying it out because it is redonkulously overpowered. What we're doing here is we're combining the talent Unrelenting Assault and Improved Revenge. So Improved Revenge increases damage by 6%, cause it to strike an additional target. Then Unrelenting Assault increases damage by 20%, but then reduces the cooldown by a total of 4 seconds. And what this does is it causes Revenge to basically be a 1 second cooldown, which essentially means it has no cooldown because that is the global cooldown, and you can use Revenge whenever it is available. And we also get Sweeping Strikes. The key to this build, which I will show you in the playstyle section, is to start in battle stance, use Sweeping Strikes, and then swap over to defensive stance and use your Sweeping Strikes on Revenges, and the damage is, well, it's pretty insane. You just have to watch my previous warrior video to see how overpowered this little tactic is. I mean, people are even soloing dungeons with this build. Then from here, you probably want to get Juggernaut so you can actually charge in combat, if you want it though, but honestly finding when I'm solo leveling, I'm not really charging that much. And then again, Armor to the Teeth and Cruelty, definitely want to get these maxed out because these are really nice. You may also want Last Stand as well because it is a pretty good cooldown. And like I said before, I like to finish my points in Improved Cleave around about level 73. Then from here you can really go wherever you want, whether you want to pick utility options, if you're on a PvP server, or just finish off with some boring points in Commanding Presence to increase the power of your Battle Shout. When it comes to glyphs, I like to get Glyph of Cleaving and Glyph of Sweeping Strikes. Glyph of Cleaving, very simply, adds the amount of targets that cleave will affect. And Glyph of Sweeping Strikes, you only really need to use this one when you are doing the arms prot spec. Basically allows you to keep all the rage that you pull when you're pulling the mobs together for when you swap over to battle stance. And then sometimes, you know, without this glyph, you won't even generate enough rage to use Sweeping Strikes. So yeah, it just allows you to stance back into defensive stance and start nuking faster. And then any other talents to go for? I mean, you may want to go for Glyph of Shield Wall, that's kind of nice. And also Glyph of Sunder Armor if you tank in dungeons all the way up until level 80. When it comes to minor talents, definitely get Glyph of Battle, because when you combine that with Booming Voice, you increase the duration of it by, you know, quite a decent chunk. So yeah, don't go for Improved Demo Shout. I don't know why I went for Improved Demo Shout earlier. Get Booming Voice, Glyph of Battle, and then you'll have a much longer duration on your Battle Shout. I went for Blood Rage and Thunderclap. Now let's talk about the playstyle. So this is what you're going to be doing at around about, well, level 58. You can start doing this. Lower level, obviously you're going to be spec'd into Deep Prot. All you have to do is do exactly what I'm doing here, just skip the part where you start off in battle stance and swap over to defensive stance. I mean, if you're really, really low level, like previous to level 20, then it really is just Heroic Strike and Thunderclap. And Revenge, obviously, when that is available. So first thing I'm doing in this clip is collecting mobs up, and the best way to do that is to just do it on a mount. So as you can see, you're running around, make sure to only get mobs that are melee mobs. When it comes to casters, you're going to have to do a little bit of a different strategy. So I'm starting in battle stance, Sweeping Strike, swapping over to defensive stance, and I'm using my Sweeping Strikes with Revenge. And I'm using Revenge whenever it's available, that's the biggest priority, then Thunderclap, then Cleave. What I do actually have is Revenge and Cleave macro. When you get to a point where you're generating so much rage that it's actually quite difficult to spend it all, that's when you start wanting to make Revenge and Cleave macros and Thunderclap and Cleave macros, so that you're using Cleave whenever it's available. And as you can see, like, I'm using Cleave pretty much as often as I can. I end the fight with 80 rage. And apart from that, guys, you know, do the obvious things. Keep your battle shout up. Use your cooldowns whenever they're available so you can do even bigger pulls. And just keep pushing your combat efficiency as much as you can. Now guys, when it comes to weapon progression, what I've done is I'm making a behemoth weapon progression guide for every single class in the game. And it's going to be relevant for people who are playing on the fresh servers leveling up from level 1. And as you can see right now, I've done a Warrior 1. It includes one-handers and also shields. To access this, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel, and then go to my channel page and you'll see my subscriber only trailer, and then in the description of that video you will see the big behemoth weapon progression Google Drive document. So guys, when it comes to gearing up and your start priority, when you're low level you really are limited. You only really get strength and stamina pieces, or maybe some strength and agility pieces. What I just recommend doing is getting as much mail pieces, and then obviously later on plate pieces with strength and stamina on them. But when you can pick up a strength and agility piece, or an agility and stamina piece, but it has to be plate gear, pick those pieces up, because obviously the agility is going to increase your dodge, which is nice. If when you do, on the rare occasion, do find pieces with avoidance on them, you definitely want them, because the defense stat low level is very, very impactful at increasing your avoidance. But of a large part, low level, particularly when you get the vitality talent that increases the amount of strength you get and your stamina, you just want to be focusing on strength and stamina pieces. However, when you hit Outland and Northrend content, that's when you start to get much better gear that's tailored for tanking. You definitely want to start getting those tanking pieces. My methodology, the second when I hit Outland and a Protection Warrior, is I'm focusing as hard as I can to get 30% avoidance. That's the really nice sweet spot where Revenge is just proccing like crazy, to the point where it's always available. Then when I'm close to 30% avoidance, that's when you can chill a bit. I might pick up some DPS pieces and start trying to get some crit, because Revenge crits are very, very juicy. But guys, I definitely recommend not getting any kind of agility or mail pieces, even though the stats might look nice on them. When you're dropping your armor, you're making yourself much more squishy. Plus, strength gear always scales better than attack power gear because of your vitality talent at the bottom of a protection tree. But anyway guys, that's where I'm going to end the video there. My name is MetaGoblin. Until my next video, ciao.